welcome back to my channel and a new Simon Hurley video. Let's go! Alright, thanks so much for being here, and today I'm going to be working with the new release from Simon Hurley, and this is one of the peel apart backgrounds. It's called Confetti, and it is a red rubber stamp, and you can see the little parts peel apart, so you don't have to use the entire stamp if you don't want to. And then there is the fading lines, and we'll be using this one today. And it is also a pull apart, so each line section can come apart, so you can use any size lines that you want. And then there is the birthday party set with some really cute stamps. They're kind of artsy looking, really pretty ganache type cake, yummy yummy, and all kinds of great sentiments. And I really love the font on these sentiments. So, and there's a little tiny candle that you can color the candle in, so you don't have to do any hand coloring. You can stamp if you want to. We've got sending you heartfelt wishes for a day filled with love and laughter and all the things that bring you joy. So a nice inside sentiments to go along with the outside. Then we have the geese. Geese or ducks? Are they ducks or geese? They're geese. Okay. So we have a bunch of little party animal type geese with all kinds of fun punny sentiments and different positions, and a little helper for a shaker card, and also so that you don't have to, doesn't necessarily have to be for a birthday, but it is mostly birthday related. And we're going to set that one aside, and I'm going to use that on another video. So to get started, I'm going to, again, use these stripe stamps first, and I'm going to use my regular Misty for this because I'm going to manipulate this stamp a little bit, and I'll be using Shooting Star, Remember Me, and Prom Queen in this video. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out the set of stripes that I want to use, and I'm going to use the third set down, kind of the thicker, but not too thick. You can use any you want. You can mix and match them, whatever suits you. I can see millions of different patterns with these stripes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my paper, and I'm using a Bristol Smooth here because I don't have any Simon Hurley Stark White, which also blends really nicely. And I'm putting it down at the 2-inch mark. You can see where I've got it kind of even all along there. It's a little bit crooked, but it's not a big deal. And I'm going to lay my stamp down at the 4-inch mark. And the reason I'm doing this is because I'm going to want to move my paper up in 1-inch increments. But what I'm going to do next is I'm going to kind of grab this stamp in the middle, and I'm going to bend down either side and stick it down. And you want to do that carefully because your stripes will bend on you a little bit. So you just want to kind of hold on to it and carefully manipulate. And then once I have it where I think I want it, I'll test it and see what it looks like down on the paper to make sure that everything's all nice and even. And just keeping in mind too that I'll be trimming this paper off because it is 4.5 by 6 inches. Let's see here. Yeah, see, I'm not very even there, so I'm going to make an adjustment here on the end that I could see needs to just bend down a little bit more so it's fairly even. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. All right, let's get that one little stripe straightened out there, and just want to press that down really well. And then I'm going to start out with the Remember Me. And I like to use a little pouncer tool. Now for these I'm using a pouncer from Local King Rubber Stamps. And I also have the other pouncers from Picket Fence Studios, but I save those for my Distress Oxide. So I don't like to mix them up. But I find that on these red rubber stamps or any really solid stamps, utilizing a pouncer tool really helps get that ink down on there evenly. And I'm going to go a second layer here. So I'm just grabbing the ink and pouncing it on. It's fairly repetitive. Just want to make sure I have a nice, strong image going on there. Okay, I'm happy with that. So I'm going to put away my Remember Me, and I'm going to clean off this stamp very carefully because I don't want it to move at all. Because they can move because they're bent. They want to go back to where they're supposed to live. So you want to definitely do that. Just carefully wipe it. But the next ink I'm going to be using is Shooting Star, so I really don't want those to blend. It's okay if they blend a little, because my next step, you'll see. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move my paper up basically 4 squares or an inch. So each one of those little grid lines is 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to move it up about an inch. Set it down. I have a one of those waffle flower sticky mats underneath, so it holds onto my paper. And again, with the pouncer, I'm going to use the yellow, the Shooting Star. I encourage you, if you don't have pouncers, and I don't have any investment in who you buy them from, they are awesome for this application. Now I can see that I moved my stamp, but I'm not going to stress over it. No big deal. You can see that I've lost a little bit of the arch at the top, and so it kind of comes separated, and that's okay. And two, probably I'm not moving my paper very wonderfully, but it doesn't matter. You'll see why. All right, so we're going to go to our last color. First, I'm going to clean this off again very carefully. And you could take a Sharpie and make a mark so that you can check it to make sure it didn't move. And then clean the Sharpie up with some alcohol later, but nah, I didn't, so that's that. All right, we'll get our last one on, which is going to be Prom Queen. And same thing, one of my pouncer tools, and that I reserve for just ink only, like water-based inks. And I can't get over how amazing these things work. Compared to, because what I find is that when I stamp down, like with the stamp pad, I get little marks. And this completely avoids or eliminates those. See, it's in the right curvature pretty much for the yellow one. We're fine. We're going to let it go. Don't stress. Don't let yourself be perfect. That's just not a place to be. All right, I'm happy with my stamping, so I'm going to move on to the next step. And what I like to do, just a tip here, is I like to, of course, clean off my mat and clean off my stamp. And then I'll lay the stamp in my stamp platform straight again so that it has an opportunity to completely straighten out, so I can put it back. If you leave them bent too long, they'll kind of stay bent, and you don't want that. So it's basically stuck down there for now until I put it away. All right, so next we're going to do our ink blending. And I have some blending brushes here, and I like to do this with brushes, and I like to tap off, and you can see that I've got a piece that I've tapped off on, because I almost always do a practice piece before I make a video. So I'm tapping off on that piece of paper, and let me just give you a hint, don't throw that away. We're going to do something with it. That's going to become our bonus card, and you'll see later. So I'm just kind of moving in an arching motion, and then I'm going to come down with the Shooting Star. And the reason I tap off is so I don't get any harsh brush marks. And I'm going to move it up into the blue, into the Remember Me, and down into the Prom Queen. And then come back with my blue brush and just kind of blend those two together. And then I'm going to come down here with my Prom Queen and just ink blend on these lines here, making sure that I'm getting up into the yellow because, well, this is Rainbow Month, and I'm doing all things rainbow this month. Best I can. Best I can, anyway. So I'm going to come back in with the Shooting Star and just kind of blend that out a little bit more. And then I'll come back in. Now I'm good. We're good. We're good right there. I'm going to go ahead and trim this down. And that ink will dry back a little bit. But I'm going to trim this down to 3 3/4 by 5. Because I do want to put a black frame around it. And you'll see why in a minute. So I'm just kind of getting it so that my arches are fairly even. And don't throw those away. We're going to save those for later. I don't like to waste anything, so there we go. Now, I'm going to take and put this into my Mini Misty. If I can pick this magnet up. Come on. I know I need some washing tape on there. Just haven't done it yet. I'm going to lay that down in the corner, and then I'm going to grab a stamp from the birthday stamp set. And I'm going to use the Make-A-Wish. So this is actually a fairly clean and simple card, especially for me, but just keeping it simple. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take and bend that stamp. Isn't that a pretty font? I love that font. I'm going to bend it and kind of push it down onto the paper so it sort of sticks, and then quickly grab it with the lid to my Mini Misty. And I'm going to stamp that down with some VersaFine Clair in black, Midnight Onyx, I don't know, black, whatever, black. I just like it in black. I think the black makes the rainbow colors pop. And so I stamped it twice just to make sure it had a nice heavy stamping on it. And I'm cleaning my stamp, of course. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just set them aside. It just depends on, I don't know, my mood. So what I want to do is I need to set this aside to dry because I'm going to do another step to it. And I need to make sure that it's completely dry before I do that. So while we're waiting for it to dry, we're going to go ahead and get started on our bonus card. So here I've got that piece of paper, and I've got the balloons from the birthday set, and I've got it down in my Mini Misty, and I'm just going to stamp this down, the outline part, in black. Okay, I'm happy with that. Now I'm going to take that and take the die that comes with, it doesn't come with the set, the die that you can get, the die set that you can get that coordinates with these stamps. And I'm going to go ahead and cut that out. All right, we've got it cut out. Now I want to fussy cut out the balloons because I don't want all that color. I just want the balloons. All right, that's done. And this is super easy, super fast. I'm just going to grab a piece of white cardstock, and I'm going to stamp this down again in the VersaFine Clair and Nocturne. That's the color. I knew I'd get it eventually. And this is going to basically go right on top of it. And then we'll have ourselves another clean and simple artsy birthday card out of our garbage. So always think about what you're cleaning and stamping off on and stuff, because it may have a whole nother life that is really, really awesome. So I'm going to trim this down. I'm going to trim this down to 4 by 5 1/4. And then I'm going to glue it down to probably a hot pink card base, because why not? I got a little schmutz on there, but that's okay. First I'm going to go ahead and stamp a sentiment so that's all done and I don't have to worry about it anymore. And this is probably where I end up getting more schmutz. And just a let's party. And it could be any occasion. And I'll go twice with that, just a very light tap. There we go. Clean the stamp off and move on to the next step while we're waiting for our Make-A-Wish to dry. And let's go ahead and grab, hot pink. And I'm going to go ahead and glue this down, and then I'll pop up the little balloons on top of it, and it'll be done. You could do an inside sentiment if you wanted to, or not. And let me just see if I can take this mono sand eraser and clean off some of that schmutz that you probably can't see on camera, but I can definitely see it. All right, let's get that popped up. And you can see there I did a practice piece that I wasn't crazy about, so I just flipped it over and used the other side for my tapping. There we go. That's a done card. Super easy, and golly, you didn't really do any work there. So back to my card. It's dry now. I'm going to take this piece of mint tape and tear it in half, and I'm going to mask off the Make-A-Wish. It doesn't have to be perfect, just covered, because we're going to be using this confetti, and we're going to be using a sort of a holographic embossing powder. It's bridal tinsel from Ranger, and so it's got some little holographic glitter in it. So I'm going to take my embossing pad and just tap it down all over the stamp, and then just lay my card right on top of it. Grab one of my little tools here to get that flattened down. Make sure that it's all completely covered. And then I'll grab a piece of paper and I'll grab my embossing powder. See if I can pick this up without messing it up. And here's the bridal tinsel, and I'm just going to cover the whole doggone thing with it. And then I'll grab my tweezers, if I can find them. There they are. And kind of just shake it around and then tap it off really well. And you can see all the little embossed bits in there. And this is the part where I always get it all over my desk, because those little tiny particles just like to fly. They do. They're just little flyers. So I'm going to go ahead and peel off the tape before I emboss it. I don't want that tape to somehow get stuck or leave its goops behind. And I'll go ahead and make sure that my embossing tool is nice and hot. Oh, God, that thing's dirty. I need to clean it. That's me grabbing it with my muggy hands. And I'm just going to go ahead and emboss the whole thing. And it's pretty hard to see it on camera, but you can definitely see it in person. And it just kind of adds that little party vibe to this otherwise clean and simple card. And we're almost done. And there we go. Now, you want to make sure that you emboss it all, but you don't want to overheat it. See, there's all that schmutz, so let me clean that up. And I have gone ahead and backed that with a piece of black cardstock. This is the Ranger Super Black cardstock. And then I'm going to do the inside of the card before I stick that down. So I'm going to grab the Happy Birthday from the stamp set. And let me get this apart here. Okay, there we go. Okay, just conditioning this stamp a little with my fingers, and it's just a happy birthday stamp. And I am going to go free range on this and use a Simon Hurley stamping block to stamp this down onto the inside of the card. And I'm going to go ahead again and use the VersaFine Clair and the Nocturne. Get it good and inked up, and what I'll do here is I'll give it a little test stamp before I actually stamp it, and that'll also help condition it. Looking good, very nice stamp, just love this font. Alright, commit, hold it down for a few seconds. That's the one thing that I've learned, is that I tend to lift the stamp before I probably should. And there we go, it's perfectly stamped, perfectly straight, perfectly centered. Woo, that was lucky. That's always lucky for me. Now, remember I cut off those little strips? I'm going to trim these off, and I'm going to decorate the inside of the card with them, just to kind of bring it in all together with the outside. So I've got one thick one and one thin one, and I think I'm going to go along the bottom here with it. Try not to smear glue on my inside of my card. And we'll get that one on. We'll get the thicker one on. And then I'm just going to flip it over and trim off the excess. And the inside of that card is done. And I'll go ahead and glue this flat down. So it's a nice flat card that you can send, but it's still got plenty of impact. And that's it. That's the card. Super easy, very colorful. And then we've got here our little bonus card. So let me just pull this up, give it a little bend, because it's got a little bendy with me with my glue. And then held in the light, you can see the little confetti everywhere. And then you've got the inside. And then here we've got our bonus Let's Party card. All occasion, really. I hope you like this video. If you do, please consider giving me a thumbs up on your way out. If you're not already subscribed, consider subscribing. And here's some still photos of the finished cards. I hope you like them. Thanks so much for stopping by. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye-bye.